with you, buddy?
You're supposed to make me laugh.
No, I'm just trying to cheer you up.
Things, the happy things, the happy things. I look at the happy things, turn that frown upside down. Cute little kittens in their warm little mittens. They're warm little mittens, they're cute little kittens. Cute little kittens wear warmest mittens and meow meow upside down.
Here's some happy juice.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the GameAnyone.com podcast. It's great having all my GameAnyone.com buddies here. We got Scorch82, Shadow Zach, and Volvagia. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Great.
Doing pretty good.
Yay!
Volv, you seem very happy. Are you happy today?
Yeah, we're finally
Got
getting
a new
episode of it.
girlfriend.
Because it's been so long since we've had our last podcast, right guys?
We did it just
You can say
yesterday.
that.
Yeah, actually, the truth is we record like 50 podcasts a week, and we have them all on backup, but you'll never even see them until like months and years from now.
Yeah, that Game Anyone Gold membership accounts.
Yeah, gold membership accounts, you got to apply for that.
Mm.
No, we're just,
Whatever it's
we're
called.
just joking, of course.
I'm still waiting to get in on that. I can't even get in.
Scorch is on the waiting list still.
Baseman suspended me and says I hog too much of the band, but
So, yeah, everything, we've been very busy lately, working on stuff, doing so many things. We'll get to all that. But we wanted to, it's 2010. We're moving up to a new decade. So I think because of that, we should maybe talk about, a couple decades of video games and video game-related products and what's been going down. And this segment is called Games of the Decades, and we're going to talk about the 2000 decade, the 2000 years all the way up to the end of 2009. So let's start this off. Scorch, why don't you give us the lowdown on your thoughts on the last decade of video games and, all your experiences.
I need to clear something up first. What's a decade?
Well, the decade would be 10 years.
Oh, a decade. Okay, all right, yeah.
What kind of decade are you thinking of?
I don't know.
Something semi-sexual?
Semi-sexual? Anyway, digress here. So, what I was thinking about the last decade. Actually, I liked all the games that came out over the last decade. There's a lot of stuff that progressed from from the 90s to the 2000s, and then even from like 2001 up till now, stuff has made like such a dramatic jump that it's kind of like it kind of feels like there's not really a lot of room to improve. I mean, there's new stuff that comes out all the time. Graphics get a little better, and games get a little bit more creative, but it kind of seems like that the most drastic changes have kind of already happened. And I myself, coming from, my childhood games of the 80s and the 90s, those will always be where, like, my passion lies is the older decade. But when I got into the games of the 2000s, I think I mostly was receptive to the ones that had come out probably around 2000, 2001, like Commandos 2 and Deus Ex, were games that I was really into that I actually made playthroughs for some of them. And I get all these people that would be like, man, this game, how old is this game? The graphics are really shitty. Like, they didn't even understand that, it's sometimes it's not really about the graphics, and it's kind of one of those things where it was like a pioneering effort. Not a lot of games were kind of going that route. Mm-hmm. And, I just thought that they were more fun. Like, I prefer games that were more fun over how they looked. I've never been one of those people that won't play a game because the graphics are shitty. Unless it got to a point where, like, the graphics were so bad, like, you couldn't play the game, like, you couldn't see what you were fucking doing or whatever. Yeah, but things have come a long way. I mean, we've had a lot of big titles like StarCraft and Warcraft, Diablo 2, all those Blizzard titles. They're still making money today. World of Warcraft, I never got into that one, really. But it's, it's types of games like that can stick in for, more than a couple of years. That says a lot. I don't think any games of the 90s ever did that.
What would your favorite games of the last decade be? What's your favorites that came out of that era?
I didn't really have any favorites. I mean, after after the '90s passed, and you know, I was starting college and everything. Like, I wasn't playing a lot of video games, so like my passion for, you know, playing some of those games kind of waned a little bit. Like, I didn't play a game enough to say, oh, it's my favorite. You know, I kind of played one, I liked it, I kept it, but that was about it. If I had to choose one, though, I would probably say Deus Ex was a pretty good game. That was one of my favorites. I think I went to a GameStop one time with a friend of mine, and I don't remember what we were there for. We were probably just browsing or whatever, and that game had just come out, and I hadn't really like researched it or whatever. But they had one behind the counter that the CD case or something was broken, so they were offering it at a discount. So I bought it for like $20. I was like, that's pretty good deal, you know, for not really expecting it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
Anything else?
Not that I can think of. I'm sure something else will come up though.
What about you, Zach? How has the last decade of games treated you?
Well, probably, so yeah, I'm like 6 years younger than you guys. That's, the last 10 years has been like, you know, the crucial time for my gaming, you know, the shaping of me. But the last 10 years, I've seen like amazing advancements in games. You know, I used to have a Sega, and the next thing you know, I'm getting all these 3D games. I just keep getting, you know, better graphics over time. But, oh man, excuse me. Last couple years, really the high-def gaming over like the past 5 years is like a really big thing for me, because I'm a really big graphics whore when it comes to stuff like this. Like, I can't play really bad 3D games. Like, I can play like bad-looking 2D games, but if it's a bad 3D game, it's like, nah, I'm not gonna touch it. I like to enjoy it.
You've been spoiled.
I'm in it for the visual experience. Other than that, like, I don't want to. It's pretty much everything's been said.
Do you have any favorites? Like,
yeah,
thinking
man.
back to the last 10 years?
Like, right at the 10-year mark, Majora's Mask. That's one of my favorite games. The Half-Life 2, the Call of Duty series. Those are my big 3 favorite games of the past 10 years. There's not much more to say about that.
Didn't Sega Genesis teach you anything? I mean, it didn't have the great graphics.
That's the 90s.
But you loved it. You loved it. You were spoiled.
Oh yeah,
You were spoiled. You forgot about your roots, man. Your Sega roots.
Those are too. I was too young for that, man.
And you never played Toe Jam and Earl.
Well, it's awesome stuff anyway. Zach's been a big fan of the games of the last decade. If you ever want to ask a question about the last decade, Zach's the guy to go to. But Volv, what about you? Did you have any different experiences than Zach, or how did the last decade treat you?
I'm even younger than Zach, which like allows me to experience the last decade even more than what he did. So, I mean, I'm 10 years younger than you in storage, and that's a big difference of generational gap. I mean, you grew up with an NES and like Atari and all that kind of stuff. I had to experience that through my brother's consoles and stuff growing up with them. Last 10 years for me, at least for 3D generational games, is like it's been dramatically improved with visual experience, but it's never been improved with gameplay. I'd say when it essentially came down to it, the N64 and the GameCube and like those sort of timelines, the first generational consoles and the second gen consoles have just always been superior in terms of like gameplay and how they actually performed their actual experience with the user itself in the past 10 years or so. For example, like I'd say the N64 with its later titles like Majora's Mask and Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie and all that sort of stuff, but they really made a big impression upon what happens with the second generational content. I mean, PS2 had such a large library of games, and only like a handful of them were really worth buying. It had some of the biggest libraries that you've never seen in a video game console, and yet only about 20 of the games were actually worth purchasing in the end. It's all about the content, it's not about visual experience, and most of those games had really terrible graphics. Later on though, like the later half of it, for the Wii, the PS3, the 360, it was all about graphics. Even now, like at the start of this decade, on those 3 consoles, I only have I'd say about 5 games per console, like the 360 and the Wii are the ones I own, and that's the only sort of thing that I'd actually want to play. I have like 10 games per, or maybe 15 games per each of them, and then there's only 5 of those that I want to play, and there's tons of games out there for them, but they're just generally crap. I mean, developers try to focus too much on the graphics nowadays, and they just don't even focus on the gameplay.
That's true. It just seems to be getting, to be all about the graphics, just better, bigger, and better. Of course, back in the day, Sega and Nintendo, they were all about that too. Trying to release system after system. So things have changed. The more things change, the more they stay the same, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
But out of the last decade, like any favorites that stick out to you?
I'm thinking actually right off the top of my head. For the PS2 games, probably Okami, the Shadow of the Colossus, Ico, the GTA titles, and other than that, for the N64, really only Majora's Mask and Banjo-Tooie. And then for the Xbox, the only really game that I've been really that impressed with has been HD Remix Street Fighter 2, and for the Wii, not that much. I mean, visually I was really impressed by Mario Galaxy when it's actually played in its highest performance, but other than that, a
lot of people don't like that one.
Yeah, it's because it's so linear. Like, it traps you. You have to go one systematic way. You can't choose wherever you go, and that's the problem with Mario. So, well,
that's
nowadays
the way it started, though.
Yeah, that's the way it was, but they diversified with that and were successful with Mario 64, and that's what people liked about it. And then, they get butt fucked up the ass when it comes to Mario Galaxy. So.
Awesome.
They kind of went over the top with Mario 64. It's like you did such a good job that now you can't
beat it. Yeah, you can't top it.
But anything else than that, Wolf?
I really can't think of anything else to say for it now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the last decade, 2000 all the way up to 2009, for me personally, it's been kind of a dry spell. I grew up on, like Zach said, I grew up on the Nintendos and the Sega Genesis and all the older kind of stuff. But yeah, I got my PlayStation and N64. And then I got my PS2 even, and that was great. But kind of after the PS2, there was about kind of a 5-6 year gap for me where I didn't get a GameCube. I don't think I've ever even played it. Maybe like twice or 3 times I've ever played a GameCube. I've played the original Xbox a couple times. I just didn't have those systems. I didn't play any really of the Xbox games, the GameCube games. I really missed out on that whole damn genre of games that came out for those systems. But yeah, I still had my PS2. I didn't get many games for it. I'm a Final Fantasy fan, so I would hold out for the Final Fantasy games. I had 10, 10-2, and of course 12. 12 was pretty advanced for a PS2 game, I think. It's kind of like, getting into that PS3 mode, because of the whole, the 360-degree movement angles. I think the last decade really brought that up into existence. Like, I think Mario 64, that was kind of right at the edge of the last decade. Was that 99 or 2000? It could have been 99.
Mario 64 was like 98.
Oh yeah, 98, even older than that. Mm-hmm. So I mean, they started tooling around with that, and I think in the last decade, they really have kind of worked that whole 360-degree movement in. The ability to look around to the left or right and then change your angle up and down and just everywhere. Like, the whole thing is just a whole world for you. You're not just walking in a certain line and there's a background there. You can now just see everything and go anywhere you want. So that's been pretty impressive, for me. But as far as games go, no, I haven't played much. The Final Fantasy 10, 2, and 12 games I've only really gotten into. Other than that, I have not been playing a lot of the games. It's probably a school thing for me. I mean, in my childhood, you always have the old systems, the systems you grew up with. Volv was kind of talking about that. He said he was several years younger than us, so his generation of video games for the first time and the experiences, this, or the last decade, I should say, was, you know, kind of his thing. To me, this was more of a dry spell, but, you know, I'm kind of looking to get back into that, and we're going to talk about that next. But does anyone have any other input to say before we move on?
Just one thing. How we mentioned Mario 64 was 1998. It's actually 1996. I mean, that went from, you know, being 2D from Super Nintendo to 1996. That was a big jump.
That was ahead of its time.
It really was. I mean, the last thing I ever played on the Super Nintendo was A Link to the Past, actually, and even then it was like 1995. I played that, and you know, a year later, I'm playing this stupid, massive open game in a 3D world, and it's being able to do whatever the hell I wanted. I mean, that's a big jump. So.
Yeah, it kind of seems like this last decade was sort of like, I mean, it wasn't as critical, but you know, like the video game crash between like 1982 or whenever until like 85 or 86 when the NES finally struck it big. Is that the 2000s were kind of like that time period where there was like a transition between something that really was successful and now they're coming out with stuff that's like there's a lot more hits, you know.
Yeah.
They're coming out a lot more popular. There's a lot less crap to sift through. I mean, you know, you've always got those systems that have games put out for them that are just like they're just money makers and they're not even all that good. Like the GameCube itself was kind of like that with Nintendo.
Yeah, Nintendo had like their seal of quality stuff. You know how they would always slap on a seal of quality on the games that they produce and stuff. Well, Nintendo's seal of quality for me became Nintendo's I really don't give a shit seal. So just giving them money.
Was it a shit mark or?
It was a case of this is probably either gonna be a piece of shit that we wanted money out of, or the fact that we actually made this game. So it's just a case of look for Nintendo's label, don't look for their goddamn. And this is my seal of quality label because normally it lies to you.
Does everyone agree with Volv on that?
Yeah, they had a tough transition period. They're doing okay now, but
yeah, they did.
They're more the kiddie market, I think.
Yeah, I think they are. I mean, they have their own series of games which will always like stand out for me, and I'll always purchase, you know, Mario and Zelda. But I'll never really go out of my way for anything else new that they'll throw out.
Some weird Wii games out there, man.
I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. It's so strange.
But does anyone else have anything, Zach?
Yeah, I noticed something that none of us mentioned. It's the advancement of like multiplayer in the games the past 10 years.
Yeah, that's true.
Multiplayer's become like bigger and bigger and
huge,
more advanced. You know, you start off with like 2, maybe 4 if you were on 64. Now you get like, you know, massive people playing it. You play like online without even being in the same room.
That sounds like it's kind of a whole other topic.
Whole other topic.
That is pretty crazy. Yeah, it's pretty crazy though. I don't think I've ever played with like more than 3 other people with me. Usually just in a living room with a console and 3 controllers. But good stuff. Anyone have anything else before we move on?
Nope.
So since we covered, what's that?
I said no. I think
since we covered the last decade, I think of course it would be appropriate to get into this decade, 2010, and up and onward. Up and onward.
And beyond.
And beyond. And beyond. So, Volv, you know, take us through, you know, this new decade of video games. What do you think this decade has to offer gamers? What do you think's going to come out? What do you think's going to be the next big thing, you know? What's going on?
The next big thing for me anyway will be probably either way, you know, move on to a next generational set of consoles, or find something new and interactive to do. But then again, you know, that could affect pretty much anything. Like it could affect just the way how it works as well. I mean, when the transition to Wii, developers had to find out, you know, how to program for it, how to make games for it, how to actually make their system work. And the first batch of them, third-party wise anyway, not Nintendo, it was really, really bad. Like, I mean, the first set of third-party games were just generally either bad or too sensitive with the controller, or they just didn't even work right. I think Red Steel is a perfect example of that, to be honest.
Oh, my friend likes that game, actually.
I don't like that game. It's so bad.
That's funny.
I got that game with my Wii, and I don't think I played it for more than like half an hour.
Did you? Horrible. Yeah, exactly. That's
I think I remember that game, too. I didn't like it myself.
I have a friend that loves that game.
Yeah.
I bought a used copy for like $10. I didn't like the game, but he comes over, we play it, like, man.
I remember playing... I remember playing the multiplayer after like it came out with my friends right before Christmas, like the year that the Wii came out. We're playing it and like I don't know what it was, but the multiplayer was decent. But when I played the single player, the controls were just so awful and the AI was horribly programmed as well. I mean, I thought Ubisoft were better than that when I actually played that game, but the game is horrible. I don't know what the hell they were thinking.
I felt lied to by the game. Like, I remember seeing the E3 previews of the game. Like, you move your one thing like this, just like a sword swinging around, and you have a gun in their hand. Like, nah, it's not even how it's played.
But
I don't even.
also, Volv, we had all those systems back in the day. Now the three primary systems are the Xbox, the PS3 and the Nintendo Wii. Like in the future, do you see any of those, maybe going under? Someone's going to lose that battle.
To be honest, the Wii's gonna go down first. To be honest,
you really think?
Its hardware isn't up to standard. It can't even do 720p, for example. It has to be running an emulator on a computer to achieve that status. It is a good selling point. It sells itself well as a console, and that's just the way it works. I mean, families will pick it up and buy it, and that's how Nintendo's making their most selling point. Like, that's how they're above the 360 and the PS3 when it comes to selling their console. But game-wise, they don't have generally that much of a content. Neither does the PS3 and the 360. But hey, I mean, like. Gamers will be out there picking up a 360 and a PS3 over a Wii just because of the fact that the way that Nintendo's branded their console, it's a family console. It's not dedicated for gamers anymore. I mean, only a few of their main party titles will actually be, meant for us, like Zelda and Mario, like I said, and Metroid, even though the fact that it's kind of went under, apart from Metroid M. So,
but do you think, Nintendo will ever go the way of Sega? Do you think that'll happen? Actually?
No, definitely no. No, they're rich as hell right now. I mean, they've sold themselves out to so many families that they have enough money to support themselves for a long time. So. If he did something like that with her NES console and they made it even better, then like actually kind of dedicated towards us more than the families, but still kind of sold themselves off to the families somehow, then it would work better out in the end for us. But they need to put out hardware from now on. They can't just sit there and go, we can make this and that and make money off it still and prove the point. And the PS3 is proving this point in the fact that it's more hardware capable than any other console out there right now. It just doesn't have the games to actually say, hey, we're the best of the best, come buy our console. Because Xbox is still putting out good games, and so is Nintendo, for at least their mainstream content anyway, not their third-party stuff. Do
you see any of the consoles?
To capitalize on people's real friends.
Do you see any of the consoles coming out with any like crazy new gadgets? Like the Nintendo came out with the Wiimote, and that's all interesting.
I think it'll just improve, to be honest. I think it'll just improve, like, the sensitivity of it. I mean, I was playing Mario earlier on today, like, just Super Mario Bros. On the Wii, and there's this level, and you may know what I'm talking about, actually, Dave. In World 7, there's this level where, like, there's platforms, and it depends on the way that you tilt it, and they move, like, you have to move Mario across the screen with them. And I was playing it earlier, and I was tilting the controller, and all I did was, like, move my controller, like, my wrists up a tiny inch, and the Wiimote thought I shook the remote. And like Mario does a spin jump, the platform goes skyrocketing over the other side of the platform. Mario's not on the platform, so I die pretty much on the spot. I'm like,
I've played those. I've played that game at my friend's house, and I know the platform things you're talking about. Yeah, I don't really like them. They're not my favorite.
I didn't like them at all. I kind of felt like if I actually try and move or breathe the wrong way here, I'm probably gonna die. So it's just a case of like concentrating and keeping my hands still. I really felt confined to actually holding the controller perfectly still, and I don't like that because when you're feeling tense in a video game, I always seem to like have a bit of a shaky thumb or a shaky hand sort of thing. So
anything
I don't
else?
know. I think it'll just improve. That's it. I think they'll just improve on their their motion sensing technology. That's about it.
What about you, Scorch? For this new upcoming decade, what are your thoughts on where this whole video game craze is gonna go? What direction?
No, I think there's a lot of emphasis now being placed on like sequels and remakes of things.
Yeah.
Stuff that was successful in the past is now being remade. Like God of War 3 is going to be a big title. That was a very successful franchise in the last decade, which is I'm surprised I actually never mentioned it. It was one of my favorites. So that one I'm looking forward to. I mean, I just got done playing Dante's Inferno, and that one was based off of the poem from like I don't know, the 17th century or whenever it was.
Grasping.
So that was kind of a big deal, and it's just a lot of stuff that seems to be made out of like movies and stuff. You know, like Avatar, the game.
Yeah, every movie has its game.
What now?
Every movie has its game, it seems.
Yeah, I know. That's nothing new, but you get better at it when you have better technology and better resources.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And with the new gen consoles, you know, having the ability to like, you know, get on the internet and download stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's now being emphasized on like downloadable content to enhance games that are already out. There hasn't been really anything that stands out as far as like, you know, really good downloadable content other than like Fallout 3's had a couple of them. But like they're gonna start. I think they're gonna start really putting emphasis on taking games that have already been out, and rather than cranking out a new one maybe a little too soon because it takes a long time to make a game these days, it just adds some content to the game that the user could just, you know, get on their console, download it for like $10 or whatever, and you know you got a couple more hours in on your game.
You think any companies in trouble of, you know, going under?
I'm sure there are.
Like Sony.
You know, I'm not worried about companies like EA going under. I mean, they're more publishers anyway. I mean, they're the ones that are paying for the games to be made. But
any of the systems?
I'd probably say Nintendo is probably in the most danger of having to come out with a console first because of the fact that, you know, their market is kind of capped. I mean, their market space is for newer and older gamers alike, and games that facilitate like actual human interaction.
Yeah.
You know, people with friends, kind of a thing.
Yeah, they've taken the most risks, you know, trying to be different. They've been trying to be different for a long time now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to argue that the Wii is a really good system. I mean, it's really popular, and it actually is fun, but it's not geared for the type of gaming that people like us do. You know, I mean, like Vol was saying about growing up with your friends and you're, you know, on the new gen consoles. Well, that was us with Super Nintendo and stuff. You know, you bring your friends over and you play, you know, Mario World, you know, just 2 players. And then 64 came out and you got 4 players. And then, well, by that time you're grown up and most of your friends probably stopped playing video games. So, you know, you have a little bit different outlook on multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the Wii is less likely to entice people like us who are probably more for just casual gaming, you know, on our own or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I agree with Vol that, you know, the technology is gonna continue to be improved upon. You know, the motion sensing controllers, you know, putting you in the game. I mean, the PS3 kind of does that with their 6-axis controllers, but it's nowhere near the caliber that the Wii is. So I think that's a pretty good point for them. I wouldn't be surprised if anybody else goes for that too. But I think a lot of what we're going to see is just improvement upon, you know, things that have already been done. They're going to be doing a lot of sequels, a lot of remakes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, continual effort on focusing on graphics. You know, you got to appeal to people like Zach.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So Zach, what about you? You're probably really looking forward to what this next decade has to offer us.
There's crazy stuff coming up, man. What I see happening is the gen after the next gen, like the next gen consoles coming out, that's going to be the peak of graphics, because right now they're pretty much as good as you're going to get them. A little bit of improvement, so the consoles coming out next are going to be the best graphics you're going to have for a while. I see that like 5 years from that, like that console, that's when we're going to start seeing like the biggest stuff coming for it, like better physics and stuff. Like physics now is kind of wishy-washy in games, you know, it's like cinematic physics and stuff. Like they're starting to experiment with like, you know, fully destructible stuff. The next consoles, you know, it might have something like that better. The consoles after that, and next to physics, you're going to have the way you play your games. Like I've seen like stuff like 10 years ago that still hasn't even, you know, been fully potential tapped in, like the VR stuff. Your little headset, you know, you're turning around, walking around and stuff in games. I don't see that happening for the consoles this one, but, you know, within the next 10 years, maybe. Mm-hmm. Like, I saw some, like, Sony tech demo where they're showing, like, this facial recognition software. It will, like, mask your face and stuff. like paint over and stuff, and you can interact with the game with that, and have your face there, you know, so you can look around, people can see your face. I thought that was pretty cool.
Isn't isn't Microsoft and Sony like trying to actually improve in that? I mean, with the iToy and the Tommy and stuff like that.
That's all right, but I don't see that like taking off as hugely as it could, because you know it's still like it's the first of the first. You know, the first thing's never going to be that great.
I'd say the iToy was the first, but even then it wasn't used in a real game. But yeah,
it wasn't used to its fullest potential.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see any companies biting the dust, going out, going under?
I see I'm a PlayStation kind of guy. Like, I like their handheld, but I really don't see the PSP making it to the next gen.
Definitely not. To be honest.
Piracy, man.
Yeah, piracy with PSP. My God.
Oh yeah, man. You think PC people have it bad? PSP guys, man, they don't even make any money.
They got hit hard in 2006, and ever since then it's gone.
And they make a new version of the PSP like every other month.
Every year.
No, they made like 5 last year, 5 different versions.
Really? Wow.
2000. We're going to give it a slightly bigger internal memory. Oh, we're going to give it TV input, so we're just going to re-release the whole thing, charging more and more money for it. I don't see people buying another Wii unless it's HD. If they don't do a high definition Wii, with graphics and stuff, I don't see people buying their next console. So it'll be like, oh, I got this thing right here.
They got to come up with a new gimmick.
But even if they stop doing their console, their handheld, they can just keep making money off that for the rest of their lives. Which is something I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the next DS, better graphics, better touchscreen, even though the touchscreen they have now. But I like it big, like the big one they're putting out. Is it like the XL or something like that? Like a huge DS. That's the kind of DS for me. Something with a big screen, so I can fully enjoy the graphics. But yeah, other than I think physics and interaction with the games like the biggest things for the next 10 years.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Awesome. For me personally, like I said, I wasn't big on the last decade of video games. 5 some years. I was there kind of for half of it. The last half, not really. But I'm really trying to get back into this. I wanna buy a PS3, and I wanna buy a Wii, and maybe the Xbox. I don't know. I kind of want them all, but I want to get some of the new generation systems. I want to get some new of these games. I gotta keep up with some certain series that I like to follow. I still want to stick with them. But I was actually at my buddy's the other day. He's got a PS3. We were playing some games. We were playing some sports games. And he showed me this thing on the PS3. You guys probably know what this is. It's called Sony Home. Have you ever heard of this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Home? I was going to mention that.
Yeah. And
online communities, man.
Well, yeah. What this thing is basically, it comes. I think it comes free with the PS3. So what you do is you go to the menu, you select Sony Home, you go into this thing, and basically what it is, it's not a huge world, I guess, but it's kind of a big, large area. It has different buildings, and it's kind of like a big park, or being next to a mall or a bunch of other buildings. You can go into these things and interact with other people that are also online, and you talk to them. You can talk to them. You can play there's little games. There's bowling, and there's arcade machines, and you can play with against each other and interact and talk actually. I think with a keyboard, or actually you might be able to plug in a headset. I could be wrong about that. Can you use a headset in that thing? I don't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so you can talk to each other, and I just think, wow, that's crazy. This is the start of what could be the next thing. This whole interactive world. And actually, a couple months ago, I don't know if you've seen this movie. There was a movie that came out. It was called Surrogates. Starring Bruce Willis. I don't know if anyone see that, but anyway.
No, I've never seen it.
The plot of the movie is basically in this world, just to make life easier. So I guess there's less crime, or less pain, people don't get in accidents or their body's protected, nothing bad happens to your actual real brain or your body. So what you do is, you just stay at home, you plug into this machine, you lay down, and it activates a surrogate, a robot version of you. And this robot, or whatever that looks like you, or actually people make it look like whatever the hell they want it to, which is, which relates
Kinda
to
creepy.
which relates to the Sony home, because people probably don't look like that. So anyway, these surrogates go out into the real world. They get in the cars, they do their daily routines, they shop, they bring home food for their human bodies, and they go to work, they do their daily life shit, and it's just kind of like funny in a way that 10, 20 years ago we were playing Atari and Nintendo and Sega Genesis, and we probably never imagined that we would have this Wiimote type stuff, the ability to interact with video games like we do now, and the crazy graphics and all that, all the new stuff that's coming out. Like back then we were playing these little pixelated games we never would have imagined. So here we are once again, right here in the year 2010, and looking at to the next decade, what's going to be the next thing that we never imagined possible that will be a reality soon. And I was going to talk about this, the virtual reality kind of thing, that whole helmet, putting the helmet on, just seeing that world and interacting with people. Well, I think this little Sony home thing is kind of the beginning of that, I mean, it's not that advanced, but it is semi-interesting. Of course, the people in this Sony home thing don't really have a lot of interesting things to say. It's a bunch of it's a bunch of younger players, I would probably say.
Well, I'm not sure you're gonna throw this out there. I mean, the companies have been trying, at least ones that have been around since, back in the days, since back in your day and stuff like that, with consoles and stuff. I mean, Nintendo, for example, they've been trying to throw out, interactivity in consoles since, the NES. Power Glove, I don't know what the hell I'm trying to run through my brain quickly.
They've always come out with accessories and crazy controllers and contraptions.
Yeah, just a bunch of crap, really, like that motion board and all that kind of stuff. Like, even now, they're remaking all that thing. Like, Power Glove is the Wiimote, and the whatever the hell it is, the Rock and Roll or whatever it is like the Wii balance board and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just a variation of stuff. They're just improving and improving. And if you think about it, they've shown ideas in the past, but we just never really expect them to come back.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just saying, PC's had that forever.
Who cares about PC? I'm
no,
kidding.
I'm serious. Like the helmets and stuff, man. Like Dave said, I tried that when I was a kid. Like I went to the mall. I probably told the story before. Like they had Quake running on like those big headsets you put on your head. You had like little tilt controller in your hand. I tried it there. It wasn't available to buy. I'm like, where is that technology at? I played it once. I want to play it again.
Yeah, I mean, they've been experimenting with certain things. Of course, it hasn't been perfected, but
definitely not.
Yeah, and they want to use that kind of technology to train soldiers. I think that was also in that Surrogates movie. I can't really remember, thinking back to it now. But yeah, they want to use virtual reality type stuff to train, people.
You know what it kind of reminds me of what you just said? Like the Matrix and how they use that to kind of train Neo in the start. Maybe.
We're heading that way, man. We're heading that way. What's gonna happen?
One different spot is he could actually die in that world. So
yeah. Hopefully, video games don't go that far.
Yeah, maybe.
Another movie to point out, which is video game related. I don't know if anyone has seen the movie Existenz. It was about 10 years old, and it basically dealt with the whole virtual reality world where the character enters, this world. And the story, it's basically not any type of story. The console or whatever, their little made-up console, kind of creates any reality in any story, and you just basically go with it. It's kind of just like real life, and you see what happens. So is real life the next video game? Just go outside and do it then.
Speaking of that TV movie thing, have you ever seen the show called like The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, where they sat in like a big chair and went to like a virtual world?
I don't recall that.
You figure that, man, that was back in the 90s. You should have watched that.
So,
That's just like that, man.
They've been tinkering with this idea of virtual reality for a long time. Media has had told stories about it. They've experimented with it. But, in the next 10 years, guys, what do you think? Do you think that could become an actual reality of maybe getting something up like that?
I think they'll be afraid to actually go to it at first. Afraid that people won't try it, or it'll be really, really, really expensive at first. I mean, imagine how much money that's gonna actually cost them.
What about you, Scorch?
I'm not thinking that it's going to be a whole lot of like an expense issue. I think it's going to be one of those things where people are going to start forming a controversy. Well, if you're going to have a video game replace real life, I mean, what's that going to actually do to you? I mean, you got to have certain social skills as a human being. You know, you got to go out and do shit. You got to be active. You got to get exercise. I mean, all that stuff has always been a problem with video games.
Yeah, people have always protested video games. The protesters back in the 80s, if they could have just lived to, maybe some of them, if they could have lived to see this era here.
I actually find myself in that boat. Like, that's part of the reason why I never got into the whole MMORPG, like Warcraft and Final Fantasy 11 and all that stuff. You know, all those people get so into the game that it's like that's all they do, and it's like, I can't do that, man. You know, I don't want to sit on PS3 at home and talk to weird people that I've never met.
Yeah.
I'd rather, you know, play games on my own. And, you know, I do my recording thing and make videos for the internet. It's probably about as far out as I'll ever go.
Yeah, to be honest, like, this is as far as I'll ever go. I mean, like, with talking to you guys online, I mean, if I never really got into doing, like, you know, LPs and all that kind of shit, I would have never really have went into that kind of genre myself. But, I mean, I can sit there and talk to people online on, like, Xbox and stuff like that, but I'm never really going to go out of my way to go ahead and meet them and stuff like that, you know?
You know, I just had this horrible thought, like how WoW players and stuff like that are bad. You have like those really bad people that never stop playing it. Imagine like they have virtual reality machines now where they can play that game with the virtual headset, man. Be like, they're slowly killing themselves.
Yeah,
They'll become couch potatoes.
Final Fantasy 11 was one I did skip because I just never was a PC guy. I haven't done myself any of that interaction type stuff. So when I was playing that Sony home thing, I was like, wow, this is kind of nuts. Unfortunately, it had a lot of potential, but the users was, I don't know. I'm not much into the interaction type stuff myself. However, I would like to see this, you know, virtual reality thing come to life. That would be kind of neat.
Did you imagine, like, what our kids will be playing, like, you know, when we're older and shit, when we have kids? I mean, they'll have technology that we're never gonna experience and stuff like that, and like stuff that'll be so progressively further from what we've ever had.
Whip out the NES. They'll laugh.
Yeah, they'll probably go, "What the hell is this?" sort of thing.
Baby's toy.
Cartridges. That's illegal. That gives you cancer.
Probably, yeah. They'll probably discover these things were bad for us. Gave us,
One
cancer
day,
and tumors.
I'm sure it won't even work on TVs in one day's future. Like, you know that South Park episode where Cartman goes into the future to get the Wii, and like it doesn't even work on his TV and stuff like that.
Yeah. And
it'll be like
they'll be powered by plutonium and crazy, devices. They'll be nuclear consoles. Oh man, so
Laser vision.
So I guess when it comes down to it, who knows what the hell's gonna happen for this next decade. It's going to be nuts. In 10 years, let's listen back to this podcast and all laugh at what the hell we were talking about. Awesome. But I think we should move on to, the current projects we're working on and future projects, of course, like always. So, Scorch, on the current projects, future projects, what's going down with you lately?
I kind of hit one of those moments where I'm not really working on anything big, and I'm not looking forward to a whole lot. Kind of just taking some time to get some shit done for myself. Mm-hmm. Just finished Dante's Inferno, which was kind of a big one. That was pretty good. Zach and I were probably planning on doing some Borderlands. We got to find some time to do that. It kind of takes a little bit of coordinating between us to make that happen.
Yeah, it's hard.
I'm working on Assassin's Creed 1, and I got to finish up Commandos. Yeah, but I just got a lot of crap that I got to do personally, so I've been taking a little bit less time for video making as of late.
Yeah, it's tough.
Who knows what it'll bring?
It's a lot to do. There's so much always to do, and yeah, we just get busy sometimes with actual lives. But
funny we talked about that.
Yeah, Volv. What about you though? What's going on in Volv Town?
I don't want to record anything new until I finish off all this shit that I've left behind in the past year. I mean, I've left a bunch of projects, but I probably wouldn't have finished if I never, told myself, you're never going to complete anything else unless you finish off what you start, sort of thing. Like, I have a bad habit of saying I'm sick of playing this game. Like, it'll become tedious and everything. I won't be interested in playing it anymore. And then I'll go away from it for such a long period of time, and then I think about going back and recording, more parts, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing it, and that's it pretty much. But I kind of need to force myself to record more and finish off projects that I started, rather than just saying cancel it, remove it from site, sort of thing. Because that's just, I hate doing that. It makes me feel like you just failed to record it, sort of thing. I don't know. I'm not gonna finish it sorry, anything new, but I'm gonna finish everything that I've left behind, sort of thing. If that makes any sense.
Just wrapping up all the loose ends.
Yeah, very much.
Awesome.
I mean, maybe a few co-ops at the start, but nothing, nothing out of line.
What about you, Zach?
Oh, what about me? I'm actually got a lot of stuff I want to do. Like, I only have one project that's really on the back burner. It's like that Doom 3 co-op, so I'm not really worried too much about that. It'll get done when it gets done. So the only really guide I have in progress right now is Dirt 2. That's one of those long-term, do a couple videos here and there, because it's, repetitive. But I'm actually looking forward to playing Ragnarok. The DS version just came out in America. I'm really looking forward to that. It's one of my favorite PC games now on the DS in a single-player version. Awesome. And Battlefield Bad Company 2. I'm looking forward to playing that single-player and like a multiplayer. Awesome, kick-ass guide. And yeah, that's pretty much my play. Whatever comes my way, I'll do.
All right. Well, for me, I've been working on Chrono Trigger for the last 2, maybe 3 months. These RPGs always take me so long. But I'm actually almost done this game, like really close, really. I think I'm on the final mission. So I always like to have that one big kind of long RPG going on while I do other little smaller projects. So, that'll be nice. Once I finish Chrono Trigger, I'll be looking to do my next big, long RPG. Don't know what I'm going to be doing yet. It's got to be big, got to be long, got to be something. So, I'm going to look around and shop for that. I also want to start some of the Twisted Metal games and Wipeout games. I really love those series, and I have yet to do any games from those series. So I want to get on that. And, of course, you got the Atari games and the arcade games. I always like to throw them out. And I have yet to do anything for the Nintendo 64. I would like to get started on that. There's some really great, games on that system. But that's pretty much what's going on for me. All right. So I think we should move on to the next category. It's the Q&A. Awesome stuff. You guys ready for a little Q&A?
I'm down.
Certainly, sure.
Hoo-ah!
I'm down, Charlie Brown.
Okay, awesome. So let's see. Number 1, we have this question from the Game Anyone forums. What game were you so addicted to that you'd never get bored of? Awesome. Scorch, what games did you never get bored of growing up as a kid, or up to even yesterday?
Well, I get a lot more bored of games now than anything, so I'm pretty sure anything that's new generation is off the table.
Off the table.
With the exception of some of the older PC games, like I really got into like replaying a bunch of that stuff. Like when I first started making videos, I did all these games that I hadn't touched in like 5 years. So that was good. I'd have to say I was really addicted to GoldenEye on the N64.
Oh.
Like me and my friends would play that multiplayer like non-stop.
Oh yeah.
And Secret of Mana, definitely. Final Fantasy 3 for the Super Nintendo. Chrono Trigger, basically all those Squaresoft games I was like never tired of. I played them so many times that I think of all the games that I've ever finished the most times, it would have to be those. Good stuff.
What about you, Volv?
I'm thinking. I've never really been like addicted to a game to the point where I would never get bored of it, but I go out of turns. Like there's a set of games where White Scorch, I find my favorite games and all that sort of stuff, and if I play them too much, like if I try to beat them into one setting, I'll get bored of them and I won't want to pick them up again. It's kind of like when you go to record, if you keep playing the same game, you get tired of it, sort of thing. But for me, I've never really found a game that I could actually sit down and play forever, practically. I mean, I'll get bored of it eventually. I don't know. That's just the way I am. I can't continuously do the same thing over and over again.
But any titles stick out to you, or just nothing really?
Probably just the Super Smash Bros. Series. That's about it. But I mean, even then, I get tired of it pretty quickly, especially nowadays.
Volv, are you hard to entertain?
No, not really.
Are you a hard person to entertain?
Not really. It just has to be something different each time. It can't be repetitive, or you get really, really sick of it.
What about you, Zach? How long is the list for you?
Oh man, well see, I'm easy entertained. So some of the games that I never get bored of, I'm addicted to any of the Call of Duty games for the PC, the good ones, like 4 and Modern Warfare 2 and 2 and 1. I really like the Mass Effect games. I played them just sit down all day and keep playing them. I never got bored of those, so I'll say that. World of Warcraft, I like that game. I didn't find it boring. I just stopped playing it because you gotta find someone else to play. You keep playing something over and over and over and over and over again.
So,
that's it.
That's it. For me, basically, Scorch kind of touched on some of my stuff. Yeah, just everything, the whole Squaresoft series. Well, most of the games, the majority of them were always great, and I could always play them again and again and again, year after year. Mario World, those kind of games. There was a game called Commando on the NES. I love that game. You can always, replay that game. The Turtle series on, Nintendo or the Genesis, actually. You could always play those games again. And, of course, Scorch said, like GoldenEye or, like Mario Kart. Just a lot of the Mario series. Really, but that's pretty much it. A couple sports games like I guess NBA Jam or a couple of the Madden games. Specific ones. Believe it or not, there are changes to those games. I really believe, or maybe it's just about the year that they come out, and I don't know. That's kind of special somehow.
Maybe you should talk about your addiction to Mario Bros. On the arcade.
Mario Bros. On the arcade. Well, yeah. Well, that's in the Mario series, but yeah, I do love that game. Even though that game is so simplistic and simple, and you basically do the same thing over and 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 over again. But yeah, I love that game. Other than that, nothing else
Dave,
really
I have
sticks
something
out.
that's bothering me. I have to tell you right now.
What's that?
I never touched anyone.
You never touched who?
I never touched anyone. You said I touched on things. I never touched anyone. I'm feeling very upset about that.
Folks,
right now.
Scorch is just saying that because the the people might be listening, and he's going to probably have to contact his lawyers now. But okay, anyway, so that's all the games I can come up with.
People? I could have sworn Dave said things, and now Scorch is saying people.
Yeah, I think Scorch was afraid of being exposed. Anyway,
shit, the mic was on. Sorry about that.
let's go on to question number 2 here. And the question is, do you ever think of redoing your first walkthrough now that you know what you're doing? Zach?
That's a good question.
What's the answer for you?
I think about it, but my first real walkthrough was Spore. There's big flaws in there, like I was sitting like Ventrilo while recording, had my mic muted, but you can hear people talking and yelling at each other playing a different game. And that was still in the recording when I uploaded it. It's not in HD.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah.
Uh-oh.
And they've enhanced the game since I played it. They have you can get out of your spaceships and walk around the planets now, and that's a really big thing for most people. So yeah, I do think about redoing my first walkthrough.
Other than that, do you have any plans on redoing any of your first games?
Nope.
What about you? Scorch? What was your first walkthrough?
My first one was Addams Family for Super Nintendo.
Ooh.
That was actually another game that I was addicted to. A lot of I don't know if anybody really saw the. I'm pretty sure they did, but the AVGN Addams Family review. I did that probably shortly after he did the review on the Addams Family, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're just doing this because the AVGN didn't like it or whatever." And I was like, "No, not at all. I didn't actually have a problem with that game, but it was kind of one of those ones where I knew I could beat it, and I knew it well enough to, not spend so much time screwing around with, gameplay and whatnot while I'm trying to talk like to a microphone, something I've never done before. So I've considered going back now and listening to it and just hearing like how horrible it sounds, redoing it. But I think it's kind of neat to like leave some of that stuff up there, because then it shows how far you've come.
Mm-hmm.
And to like redo it, something like that, maybe not so big. I mean, I know Dave, you might consider redoing some of that, but I think you've done it a couple of times already. The bigger games are sometimes a lot better because you can play them in a different way, add voices and stuff to them. But the Addams Family was kind of like one of those just platformers that, it didn't really have anything special. So I don't know. I might go back there and redo something
someday. Yeah. What about you, Volvagia?
I'm already doing my first game. I'm playing Secret of Mana with you, so.
Oh yeah. Secret of Mana co-op, awesome stuff.
I mean, the only differences between, doing it back then is my quality sucked, the sound sucked.
Game Anyone exclusive.
Not much different
Yeah,
today, then.
and it's Game Anyone exclusive, and it's like, shut up. And, the co-op feature as well. I mean, I played a single player, no commentary and everything else. I mean, overall, it's just better and, brighter and the most awesome guide ever and all that crap, so shut up.
So, any other of your other beginning games that you started out walkthroughing? You have in mind, or?
Yeah, I like everything that I did before YouTube went HD. I want to redo it at some point, especially because a lot of my beginning guides weren't even in commentating. Like, so it was just a case of I just want to redo it with my my input on it, not just playing the game because of its sake. I actually know how to play it, sort of thing. But yeah. I just want to be able to replay them all pretty much at some point and, get everything redone. I suppose, for me anyway, it's just a case of perfection is needed. And again, everything keeps improving and all that crap, especially YouTube and changing their formats all the time. So I need to redo everything like 10 times over to finally get it right.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. All right, well, for me, oh man, I've probably become the most improved because if you've seen my first video, it's probably one of the worst things you could ever watch, and you'll watch it and be like, Dave, is that you? Is that your video? What the hell's going on? I can barely even hear you. My first walkthrough was of Toe Jam and Earl, and the game was. You see, this is back in the day where I didn't bother doing tests, so I didn't test myself out, and the music of the game was way too high, and my voice was way too low. This was back when I was using Cam Studio. God awful. So everything about it was really kind of bad. So yeah, I would love to redo that game. I was thinking of redoing it for my 2-year anniversary, but as a co-op maybe. But it kind of passed by real quickly, and I was pretty busy doing other stuff. So I'm thinking about doing it for maybe kind of like a 3-year anniversary thing. Other than that, there's a couple of games in the beginning. Right after I did Toe Jam and Earl, I think I did Streets of Rage 2 on the Genesis, and then Turtles in Time on the SNES, so I want to do those games again. I could do like some co-ops and stuff like that, make it more fun. So that's probably what I'll be doing. I'll get to those beginning games again and do them up. So good stuff, man. Yeah.
I always liked how you always sound like such a real nice guy in your earlier vids.
I am a nice guy, Scorch.
And you watch now, and it's like, God, fuckhead.
I am a nice guy.
It's awesome.
I'm Game Anyone Most Friendly 2009.
Oh yeah, that's true. You're right. How could I be so wrong? I don't understand.
But so yeah, that's what's going on for us for redoing first titles. I think we should move on to question number 3 here. And the question is, what is your worst experience playing a game with others? Oh, this is going to be a good one. I'm going to like this. Scorch, do you have any stories to share with us?
Any stories to throw in there? Let's see. I got a couple, actually. It's nothing huge, but there was one time when I was playing Mario Kart 64 with some friends of mine. It was probably right around the time it came out, and I don't know about any other viewers, but sometimes when you play multiplayer, you get pretty competitive and like you get thrown into the motion. And when the race is really close and you're about to win, then you get screwed because you get hit by a shell and you lose, and you're like, it's a big problem. So I was playing against this friend of mine, and I always had kind of this complex where like I had to be better than him all the time because he just I don't know, I couldn't really explain it, but he ended up pulling out a victory in the clutch, and then he like just totally started flipping out and rubbing it in my face, and I got all pissed. So I punched him, and like, it was one of those things like after you punch somebody and it's like a big deal and everyone starts yelling and getting all pissed, and it's like you totally killed the mood. Well, some time had gone by and I sort of apologized to him, and then like his mom came home like a couple hours later. And I just remember being upstairs on my computer, like, I don't know, playing a game or doing something. His mom comes upstairs and starts yelling at me.
What?
If you ever get yelled at by someone else's parents
in your room?
Like no, it wasn't at my house. It was at his house.
Oh.
So his mom came upstairs and started yelling at me, and I was like, oh shit, if you get yelled at by someone else's parents, it's like it's bad news.
Uh-oh.
So she was like, you don't ever hit my son. And I was like, yeah, I know. I apologize. I really shouldn't have done that.
Aww.
I feel really bad. Yeah. But, I mean, that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was I don't think we were ever really friends after that. So, I mean, I lost like a shitload of friends in high school because of like the crowd that he hung with, sided with him. And then I had, different friends and blah, blah, blah. So it was kind of like
It started a war, man. It started a war.
Small thing turned huge. And, so that's kind of how that one turned out. That was probably my most horrible experience, and it didn't even really seem all that bad.
It was a war.
But, and I had another one. This was like a smaller thing. I didn't end up, like, losing any friends over it or anything, but when we used to play Perfect Dark on the 64, and I remember that game, there was parts of it that were really hard, and if anybody's played the 64 version, they had, like, the challenge mode, where you had like different challenges to complete, and it was like really, really hard. And I remember there was one that I was like struggling to beat for so long, and then I finally like got really close, and then I lost at the very end, like right before I was about to win, and I just got pissed. So I went to go punch the couch, and I missed, and I punched a hole in the wall. This was in my room, my parents' house. So I punched a hole in the wall, and like I had to explain that to my dad, like what the hell happened, and I was like, oh yeah, me and my brother were wrestling, and I hit my elbow on the wall. Like I totally didn't even tell him that I got pissed and punched it because I was playing a video game.
Scorch was a little frumpy that day.
Yeah, my friend was there. He's like, dude, oh my god, I can't believe you did that. So that was kind of funny.
Awesome stuff.
I think that's all I can remember for now.
What about you, Zach?
Oh man. Just go on like not really a specific experience, but as I've said, I'm a really big like online competitive player, especially like team games, shit like that. It's like a drug, man. If you're like you and your team are winning a game, killing some other 4 fuckers on the other side of the world, it's like, man, it's the greatest feeling, man. But when you lose, or you're losing, either it's from your own actions or a teammate action, it's like it's a horrible feeling. You just get so frustrated and angry. You just, you want to break shit. I busted my keyboard many times, raging out.
What, did you break it in half with your knee?
God, no, I'm not some little stupid fuck. I just, I slam it against the desk really hard and
of course.
It out or something, or punch it.
Of course.
I never break it in half, man. It's a keyboard. I need that thing.
The angry Virginian kid.
Anything else stick out to you?
Nah, man. I never really have a bad experience playing games. So much that a worst experience.
What's about you, Volv? Any unpleasantness in Scotland?
Nothing to point of rage other than like competitive gaming. Like I used to be part of the UK and European Smash community for Melee, Super Smash Bros. Melee, and like it was points of like saying it was all about money. Like, people used to play against each other, like, for pride and money, I suppose. And the worst thing I've actually seen is like a guy started yelling at me and like, you want to go outside, sort of thing, because of the fact that, you know, I beat him and took like $50 off him. And I was like, well, you're the one that fucking bet in the first place. And the guy obviously knew the one, but you know, he was worse than me because he got a higher placement, like 5-6 places higher than him in the actual tournament. And it's just dumb that, you know, people get so angry over video games. I've never really found myself like getting angry over like a multiplayer game, but over a single player game where you die for the most stupid fucking reason ever, that's when I get annoyed. But when it's over a multiplayer one, I generally don't get annoyed, but I found myself getting frustrated at least with Xbox Live anyway. Mainly because of the fact that, you know, nobody's actually there in real life. You'll find that out when, you know, you play friends in real life. They'll not like curse at you like crazy, but when it's over the internet, they'll do it like hell.
Uh-oh.
But I don't know. That's pretty much all.
Pretty much all?
Yeah, but nothing really happened with that situation. I mean, I just kind of left. I said, just dude, chill out, and, you know, he went off, buggered off, fucked off, really.
So what about me? What bad experiences happened in Dave's old little kid life? Well, there's a bunch of little things. You know, there's always little things, but the one big thing that sticks out to me, this happened back when Dave was a young lad, back in junior high, I think 7th grade. 7th grade, I was, you know, friends with a bunch of kids. I had them over, and you know, these guys were kind of my best friends, probably. So it was me, 3 other kids. You know, we were playing, I think, GoldenEye and Mario Kart. You know, we're playing a bunch of those, you know, 4-player Nintendo 64 games. But anyway, we're playing one of those, and I think I lose a race at Mario Kart, and it was one of those really close ones. So I was really frustrated, and I took the controller and I just kind of, you know how you just drop it to the floor sometimes in disgust and anger. So I did that. Now the thing is, the controller wasn't mine. Back in the day, these goddamn controllers are expensive. If you had a system, you know, you're always going to have that one controller for you, and then maybe a second controller for your friend, but you don't want to fucking spend all that money and buy 4 goddamn controllers, you know? You can just have your friends bring theirs over. So, you know, I was using my friend's controller, and I dropped it on the floor. He looks at me and he's like, Dave, don't drop that controller on the floor. You're going to break it. So, you know, I'm like, we start playing again. We have another race, and I lose it again, and it was just another one of those, oh, I can't believe I lost. What the fuck? So in my disgust and anger, I drop that controller on the ground again. My friend looks at me and he goes, Dave, for the last time, don't drop the controller on the floor. Now, you got to try and picture how this, you know, goes on in your head. We're like on the floor in front of the TV, not sitting on a couch. I'm kind of kneeling. So I look at him. I pick the controller off the floor, still looking him directly in the eye. I pick it up. I hold it out, and then I throw it onto the floor again while looking at him, kind of like really, you know, like defying his wishes of treating his controller better. So I just look him in the eye, pick it up again, drop it on the ground, just drop it right on the ground. He fucking tackles me. He jumps over our other friend who's sitting in the middle in between us. He jumps all the way over him onto me, and we're kind of like wrestling, rolling over, you know, 360, rolling over all over the floor. So I get up, I'm on top of him, I take my fist, and booka! Right into the face, give him a black eye. That's the end of the friendship. Loser, I lost a friend.
That's the story.
I lost a friend that day. Booka! Gave him a black eye. The funny thing is, we were both in the school play, and we were both on the football team. So we had a lot of well, I guess you could call it interaction. We were together in a lot of things. We were in the play. We were in the football team at school. I think we even had a class that semester, maybe the next semester. But it was really awkward. But the funny thing is, like, all the friends just kind of came with me, and he made all these new friends. Like, that was the start of his, like, whole new path. I think I shaped this young man's, like, destiny. He probably found a girl because of me, and what I did. He married that girl. He's probably going to have kids, all because I punched him in the face. So, really, he should come to me and thank me for what I did to him.
You know what's funny, Dave, is that I'm kind of glad now that I'm not the only one that actually lost friends for punching them.
You see, Scorch, like, if Scorch hadn't, like, punched that other kid in the face, maybe, who knows, you wouldn't be here on, YouTube and Game Anyone making videos. Shaping the destiny, man. Shaping the destiny. I'm glad I punched him in the face.
But you dropped another man's controller, man.
I take it back. That wasn't my worst experience. That was the happiest experience.
You know what was funny though is the way you were describing it. It was kind of like two dogs competing for their territory. You know,
Yeah.
like you circle around each other until one of them strikes. And
Of course,
boom,
I was being a stubborn asshole. I remember this day so vividly. I looked at him. I'm like, fuck you. Watch this. I'm gonna do it again. Booka! Throw the controller on the ground.
I told you, get the fuck out of my house.
Oh, actually, we're at my place. We're at my folks' house. But but yeah, that was probably the craziest thing that happened with, worst experiences. Hoo-ah! Who had fun? All right, so I think we should get to the final question here, number 4, and that is, when did you decide to start doing game walkthroughs, and what was your experience recording your first videos? Oh, Jesus. So I think, Volv, why don't you start us off here?
Let's see. When I wanted to start doing walkthroughs and stuff like that, it didn't end up actually begin to be me recording walkthroughs. It was more like looking up speedruns and seeing all these crazy assholes on the internet complete games that I played as a kid in like 10, 20 minutes. And I was wondering, how the fuck did that idiot do that? And it was like 2 hours worth of my time in real life to even progress anywhere. And this guy is speeding through the game, running backwards, jumping off the walls, and doing all this crazy ass shit, but I didn't even know it was possible in the game. And I don't know, I watched all this stuff and I'm going, right, I want to learn how to do this and I want to beat this guy's time just because of the fact I want to show him up. So it was just a case of like looking at how to do it. And to be honest, I'm gonna be the one to admit this. I started off with using a friend's camera at first, like, to see how bad the quality was, and I pointed it at the screen, and it was some of the worst quality I've ever seen in my life, and I was like, oh, I'm not doing this. I don't know how that guy gets this quality so good. So I thought it was a VHS, and he had like this converter for his computer, so he could transfer the data onto his computer and work from the VHS. That's what I thought it was, and then I found out about DVD recorders, and then I thought it was that. And I never learned about a capture card until, YouTube got big and all this stuff, like, in 2006, 2007. And, like, I looked at it and knew what a capture card was. And then I was like, well, how do people play it on computer games and stuff like that? And then I found, like, Fraps, Camtasia, Hypercam, and Treaded and Omnis Cam Studio, which everyone knows and hates so much. But, yeah, I used Cam Studio at first, and horrible quality and all that. Yeah. I was recording Secret Mana, like I said. It was terrible sound quality, horrible picture quality, and editing program was Windows Movie Maker. I looked at my video and I thought, oh, this is pretty decent. And then one day later, Mace Man comes along and goes, "Sup, Volv?" And I'm like, oh god.
I'm sure that's what you said.
No, I was reading my personal message. It was a PM from Mace Man saying, "Come to GameAnyone.com. I know the ways of walkthroughing. I can help you." And then I go over there, and Mace is giving me all these suggestions and stuff, and how to improve my quality, and how to watermark and all this stuff, and he taught me how to edit my videos correctly. Basically, he taught me the ways of Sony Vegas, and how to make your video look the best, which was I don't know, HQ back in the day, YouTube high quality. It's the best quality that you could get, pretty much. And from there, I just I stuck with the site because of the fact that Mace helped me out, and I just stuck with what I knew, sort of thing. But in the beginning, my quality was terrible. My sound quality was terrible. I had no idea what I was doing. Using Windows Movie Maker to edit my programs, and that's the worst thing that you can use with a Windows computer, pretty much. Especially when you're using Cam Studio to record and all that stuff.
Sounds like fun, man.
Oh, it was a nightmare, especially with uploading and getting random errors.
Yeah, well, for me personally, it was kind of the same. Like you said, I started using Cam Studio. This was back in 2008. I think I've stated before, I never knew this whole video game walkthrough thing was kind of a very popular thing to do on YouTube or on the internet in general. And I didn't know a lot of people did it. So one day I'm browsing YouTube, and one thing leads me to the next. I discover this walkthrougher by the name of Red Clock, who's now a Game Anyone director also. But was watching a couple of his videos, and I kind of found it to be cool. I wonder if I could do something like that. And, you know, I was doing a little research. I found things really confusing at first, but things led me to Cam Studio and, you know, brushing up on the ROMs and emulators. I've used them before, but, you know, didn't really have that much knowledge about, you know, how to use all that stuff. So, yeah, I got an emulator, I got some ROMs, I got the Cam Studio, and it was just really a pain in the ass going through all the Cam Studio codecs, you know, because some of them made things look less crappy, and some of them were just very crappy. But I would just pick and choose. I would just, what's that?
When you go back to your old stuff, you know, when you look at it now, it's just terrible, isn't it? I mean, I've done that a few times with my own stuff.
Yeah.
You know, with the Cam Studio codecs, it's just awful.
Yeah, I hated Cam Studio using the codecs. But, you know, it just, it led me, this was back in 2008, it led me to, you know, do those first couple of games that I mentioned, and after which I switched to a registered HyperCam, which was a little better, but, you know, really not much better, and of course after that, I found my way to GameAnyone.com. Things got a lot better. But yeah, I started back in 2008, and it's been just a little bit, as of now, a little bit over 2 years. And wow, I can't believe you know, how far I've come with the quality and all that stuff. So that's pretty much what happened with me. Scorch, what about you? Was it kind of a similar experience, or did things start a little differently for you?
I actually had a similar experience to Volve, because I remember I started watching speed runs and, you know, just looking up videos for games. I don't even remember why I started looking, because it wasn't speed runs per se, but I did notice that there was a lot of games that as a kid I could never finish because they were hard as balls, and I was like, I'm never gonna finish this game. I wonder what it looks like. You start looking it up and you see all these people doing what they call tool assisted speed runs, or TAS, and it's basically
TNA?
where they, what now?
TNA?
Yes, but
All right,
later.
Continue.
Continue. Carry on. So it's basically like playing through a game using an emulator or some sort of tool where you can like rewind every time you mess up. So it's basically just like a shitload of playing a game, re-recording, playing a game, re-recording, and when you finally get the footage all together, it looks like a successful run with no mistakes. When in reality, somebody had sat there forever and did like 50,000 rewinds, kind of a thing. So I started looking into that, and then I was like, well, I want to see a game that's not speedrun. I don't want to see one that's tooled and glitched, because I want to see how it's normally done. So I started looking for what they called long plays, and there was a very few amount of people that were actually doing that. Where they play through the game, like doing everything, taking as long as possible to show off everything. And then I started noticing people that did games under the term Let's Play, where they actually added their commentary. And I thought it was pretty interesting to actually listen to people talk while they played the game. And I was watching two specific users at the time when I decided to like try to get into game recording, and one of them was WC10K, who does he did a lot of the older games. He did Metal Gear Solid 3, was one of the first to do that. He did Maniac Mansion and Battle of Olympus, and I was like, this guy sounds really cool, and I could totally see myself being able to do this, but I don't know how the hell to do it. And a lot of these people that were doing games for like PS2 and stuff, like I wasn't really sure that there was like an emulator or something you could use. So I'm like, how the hell are people capturing their footage? Well, I used to watch Cloud8745 before he kind of went way down the crapper, and he mentioned that he used the Dazzle to do that, and I was like, okay, I'll go do some research on this, and I found out, oh, it's not that expensive. I could probably figure out how to set this up, and then I just kind of started doing it, you know. So my first walkthrough was actually one that was captured with a Dazzle, and I still have the stupid thing. And then it started rolling downhill, because that's when you start to, you know, do all your testing and you figure shit out, and you're like, oh, this doesn't work, I don't know what to do. You know, then you get into editing and rendering and doing all this stuff, so it's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
So you got to have a lot of time to invest in it.
There's a lot to do. So that's.
I just remember, like, when I started doing the Addams Family, I was really, the biggest thing for me was like talking while you're playing a game while no one's there. It just kind of seemed weird. But then when you go back and actually edit the footage together, you listen to yourself talk, and that's something that you have to get used to. Like, if you don't hear yourself talk, it's like really weird to listen to that.
That's Scorch's journey there, folks.
Yay!
And last but not least, Zach, what was your, how you started out doing this thing?
Well, Zach's journey takes a slightly different route. Back like 2 or 3 years ago, I started posting on YouTube. Like, I just started uploading videos to my cell phone that I took to, just show my friends. That's how it started off. Then, I started getting active playing online games. I had like a little niche of friends. So I record like 5-6 minute videos of the game I'm playing and show them so they can all go download the game. We can all play together. So about a year or so after that, I got a hold of Spore, and I uploaded like 30 minutes of Spore because it was an okay game. Let it sit there. At that time, I only had like 37 subscribers. I was nothing big. And then overnight, I come on. I have like 2,200 subscribers. Like, my view count is like, 1 billion% extra. And it's like, oh my god. So, oh my god, what's all this? What's this? Oh my god, why I got so many people commenting? And from then on, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna keep posting videos. People are just gonna watch them. It's like a drug.
Zach was addicted.
And that's how it all started.
Awesome, man. So, those are some of the stories of how rough it was when we started out. We had to figure things out, and yeah, it was pretty crazy. Anyone have anything else to share?
No, not really.
Then I guess it's time.
Maybe some advice, real quick, to anyone who's thinking about starting is just to, experiment. You got to try things.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
Try a whole bunch of things, see what works out for you.
You gotta do your research, so you gotta actually figure out, what big names they're actually using to edit and capture their stuff as well. You can't just, waste your money on crappy capture cards, right? The data wasn't even up to standard nowadays, so,
Don't force yourself to be angry. Nobody wants another angry video game nerd clone.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, just be yourself. When it comes to doing commentary anyway, just be yourself. And, if it's not cut out for you, people out there that don't even like to do commentary, like Overward, for example. He doesn't like to do commentary, and he's a big hit, so, I don't know. You don't really have to, be a Let's Player to be big on YouTube or on Game Anyone or anything.
Yeah, so, pretty much, like, everybody, can really do what we do, really. I mean, like Wolf said, you don't always have to do commentary. So, I think we should move on to our last segment before we wrap it up, and of course that's the trivia section. Trivia is a lot of fun. For those of you who don't know, we're going to be asking you 4 trivia questions, video game related. If you happen to know the answer, then you should go to the GameAnyone.com forums. You can look up a section there. It's labeled Game Anyone Podcast. Go in there. And you can post the answers to these questions. You'll be able to find them at the top of the page. So the first person to answer these trivia questions correctly gets credits to your account, your GameAnyone.com account, and these credits can be used in numerous ways, like the raffle, for instance. We'll be talking about the raffle a little bit later, actually. So let's start this off here, and we got question number 1, and this question says, prior to the new Super Mario Bros. Game on the Wii, what was the most recent cooperative Mario platforming game? So if you know the answer to that question, hurry up, get over there to the GameAnyone.com forums, fill out the answer, see if you're going to win something.
Money! Yay! Credits!
So, question number 2, I think Volv has that one.
In The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, when you went to translate a chart with Tingle in Tingle Island, how many rupees would he charge you per translation of the Triforce charts?
So if you know the crazy answer to that one, head over to the forums, fill it out, see if you know as much as Volv about Zelda games. All right, question number 3.
All right. What color scheme did Luigi have in his first animated cartoon debut?
His first animated cartoon debut, Scorch?
Yes, his first animated cartoon debut, because everyone has to start somewhere.
Everyone has to start somewhere. Sounds easy. So if you know the answer to that one, you know what to do. And of course, last but not least, we got question number 4, Zach.
In what 16-bit game does a cow say, "Well done," after completing the level?
Okay, so if you know the question to that, go over to the podcast form on GameAnyone.com, fill that out. Good stuff. You'll get some credits. Awesome stuff, man. Good trivia. Love the trivia. Yeah. So this was a good podcast, guys. I think we should wrap it up here. I do want to mention the new GameAnyone.com raffle. This is an iFun City viral video contest. You can win up to $250 worth of prizes, and you can submit a video showing off your gaming skills, and it needs to be about 30 seconds to a minute long. And you can check out GameAnyone.com for further details. You can click the picture link up in the. It's located in the upper left-hand side of the page, and you can just go on the forums and ask more details about that if you want. Should be a fun contest. Are you guys all participating?
Maybe.
I haven't decided yet.
I mean, it's worth
All
worth the prize in
What?
the end. Yeah.
What's that?
I said it would.
$350 total prizes.
Is it $350?
Yeah, I think it's like first, second, third place. Like first place is like $150 or $200 worth, and then they split the rest between the others. It's a contest sponsored by iFun City.
This is all pretty new to us, so I mean, like, it's something that's been arranged with Maceman and someone pretty new, so.
Yeah,
It's a
it should be
pretty
good.
interesting
We're looking
contest.
forward to what people are doing.
Yeah.
Awesome
It'll be a
stuff.
creative experience.
So, guys, you have any
GameAnyone.com
other
as well.
further comments to, give to our viewers before we wrap this sucker up here?
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs. I think Zach would say do drugs.
Hey, school, man.
What are they supposed to do now? Volv, anything for you?
I really have nothing to say other than what I've already said.
I'll say don't cross Volv and the Scottish Mafia.
We'll kill you. We'll kill you.
Awesome stuff.
Why don't you tell people to visit Scotland, because it's such a beautiful place.
I'm afraid that would have to assassinate him.
I say we all finish this podcast up and go kill Mace Man.
Yeah.
I mean,
All right. I'll get the
record
knife.
games.
Let's go get our paychecks and slaughter him.
Paychecks, right.
You mean
All right.
cheese and peanuts?
All right,
Yeah,
guys.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for being here. I'm Dave the Usher with Volvagia, Shadow Zach, and Scorch82. We'll see you guys next time. We are out. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.